Sorry.
It was in the start.
Caught up.
Ready?
Are we ready?
I
That didn't take long to upload then,
I know,
because
I
it was
mean-
short.
All right, we're on?
Yep.
All right, welcome to Improvement and Services Committee for Wednesday, December 14th. Roll call, we are all here, Alder Steuer, Alder Weary, Alder Eck, and Alder Campbell. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Eck, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Campbell, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That passes unanimously. Approval of the minutes, a motion for that.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Eck,
Second.
second by Weary. Any other discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye, all opposed?
Oh,
Okay, we're moving forward. Regular business, number one, consideration with possible action on the 2023 proposed vegetation maintenance at the city's stormwater ponds and facilities. Director.
Okay, we have included in the packet supporting documentation from Northern Ecological Services and McMahon Architects. These are the two service providers that we have historically used for maintenance on our stormwater facilities. Primarily what they're doing is making sure that we don't have invasive species coming in and overtaking the vegetation that actually does the treatment of the water around the perimeter of the ponds, and then also making sure that the ponds continue to function the way they were intended. The NES proposal, as indicated on the first page, is for the Royal Woods Pond, Barina Creek, Burger Street, Huron-Sitka, McAuliffe Park, Yuza Shorewood, Eaton Heights, Mossy Oak, and Voyager Drive ponds. They provided a pretty detailed identification of tasks and associated costs that they will be doing at those facilities. Overall cost expenditure for 2023 is expected to be in the neighborhood of $51,350. Additionally, they have talked about some sediment investigation out at Barina Creek. There's a second proposal in there discussing that in the amount of $2,200 for sampling and then $600 worth of lab fees. The next item that's in the packet is the proposal from McMahon. McMahon taking a look at the Bear Creek northwest and northeast ponds, the Larshide Pond facility, our Mill Street Pond, Baston Street, Excalibur subdivision, and Superior Pond. Smaller facilities and more upland type vegetation around the perimeter, so less work that needs to be done. We're expecting an expenditure of about $7,600. These are annual contracts. They are paid for under the operating budget of the stormwater facility, stormwater utility. Staff is in support of awarding all three of the contracts as identified.
I was going to ask that, they're all, okay, it's all kind of lumped together for
Correct.
all of this, yes, okay. Committee, go ahead, Alder Eck.
something that stood out for me when I read this prior to coming today was the spot herbicides being used. I see that as a chemical.
Yes.
So, you know.
The firms that we are using are ecologically minded firms, so they're not going out and spraying herbicide. It's spot application of herbicide on the invasives when they find it. So for instance, with the Phragmites, if they were to encounter Phragmites, they would cut the Phragmites off, and then on the open stalk, that's where they do it's hand applied herbicide directly to the plant to try to kill the roots. So they're not just going out and spraying herbicides on large areas.
Think about it like attacking dandelions in your yard, where you're going in and you're attacking a single dandelion. That's what they're doing, is they're targeting a set species. And a lot of times, they'll do the spraying, and then they might do hand removal as well, so.
Is it a Roundup type of thing?
It's not necessarily Roundup, I'm not sure exactly what they're using. But we do make them aware of our concerns with certain products, and again, the firms themselves, ecological restoration is what they do. So they're not going to use chemicals that are harmful to the environment if they don't have to either.
Okay, well, I ask, because like at home, I know I use salt and vinegar and put it right on the
Right.
dandelion, because anyway, so just wanted to ask.
Yep,
Thank you.
It's a good question.
Good question.
I got
Anybody
one.
else? Alder Weary? No, looks good. Alder Campbell?
What about that vegetation area on Webster Avenue? That long strip of it?
That, we actually talked about,
That is an independent.
Because there's people that are gonna get up
Study
a
that we're
petition
looking
pretty
at.
quick.
we just talked about that, we had a separate meeting like 2 days ago.
Yep. it's got-
And they are working, we have a, NES, same company, is working up a proposal. They started with a test segment out there, and I've asked them for a proposal to do the whole thing. So we are working on that proposal.
I know
as we
I've
speak.
asked if we could put a few native flowers in there to make it look like it actually is trying to look like something.
Correct.
4K
Nicer.
project.
Yeah.
In the middle of this,
Leadership Green Bay.
in Webster.
Motion
No, I-
approved. Come on, let's-
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that, especially on Webster Avenue, and I've driven by there a number of times too, and you look at it, and it's one of those where you kind of look and go, I want it to look, you're trying.
Yeah,
Like-
because it's on the way to Bay Beach.
Yeah, so anyway,
From
we
beautiful-
appreciate you bringing
on
that
Broadway
point up.
or
Yep.
So
City
we're all
or-
concerned about it. Okay, motion to approve by Worry, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Campbell, any other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously. Number 2, consideration with possible action on a request by the Department of Public Works to adopt the proposed 2023 sanitary sewer rates. Director.
Okay, back in November, we passed the sanitary utility budget. Now what we have to do is take that budget and convert it into the rates that people are actually charged. So there's 2 parts, 2 components to the sanitary sewer rates. There's the local collection rate that the city controls, and then there's the treatment rate that comes from Green Bay Metropolitan Sewage District, or doing business as New Water. New Water had their budget approved late last week, I think it was Thursday.
Yep.
So when they approved their budget, they were able to provide their rates to us. So in the packet, there is a document that starts off, the heading on the top is Proposed 2023 Sewer Service Charges. If you look at the bottom of that page, under section 3, sub C, sub 1, sub D, volume charge, right below that, it says the GBMSD rates for the period are, and it gives the volume rate, the BOD, the TSS, the BOS, and the TKN. Those are the numbers that come from GBMSD when they pass their budget. So we got those numbers in, we're then able to plug that into our equations, and what winds up coming out are 2 factors. Number 1, on the top of the next page, the GBMSD charge is $3.83 per 100 cubic feet, and the city's charge for collection is $2.29 per 100 cubic feet, for a total of $6.12. What does that mean? That number then also gets pumped into an equation and comes up with the billing parameters, or the minimum charges and charge per meter size that you see in the middle of page 1. So that's what actually goes forward. If you have a 1-inch line going into your house, a 1-inch water line, you get 900 cubic feet of sewer as an allowance, and that will cost you $80.20 per quarter. So depending on your meter size, as long as you don't have a volume charge exceeding the allowance, which is pretty rare on a residential property, this is the bill you pay, or that's the sewer charge that gets paid on your water bill. So the whole first page is all relative to what we call non-monitored users, or people who don't have a meter or sewer, which is mostly residential. We have a few monitored customers like Georgia Pacific, Procter & Gamble, high volume users with high strengths. Those are our monitored customers, which are on the next page under section 3 sub 2 section 3 sub C sub 2. For abnormal strength sewer, what we have is a service charge, which is the monthly customer charge plus a quantity plus a sampling. The monthly customer charge is $239 per month. The quantity charges, again, there's a component there from GBMSD, from their rates. The volume charge, we add our city collection, our volume charge, that $229 that I was talking about before, to come up with a total rate. Then there's a sampling charge, so we've got the sample charges in the bottom. and that comes out as a pass-through cost that we bill back directly to those monitored users. And if you remember when we were doing the budget last month, in our expenditures for the sanitary sewer, one of the expenditures was payment to New Water for non-monitored, and then payment to New Water for monitored customers, so we even track that independently. A lot of information to process. Again, the biggest things are the volume, or what the billing rates are for the customer. Then we go to the next page, which is the rate history going back to 1979, and call particular attention to the bottom of that sheet. Last year, 2022, or our current year, GBMSD's rate was $3.52 per 100 cubic feet, and that went up to $3.83, so that's an 8.8% increase. Our rate stayed the same. So it's a composite 5.34% increase, but all of that is attributed to cost increases through GBMSD.
So, Paul DeWery?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Director, I remember back, 10, 12 years ago when it started to really ramp up. I know that they're doing a lot of infrastructure work that they have
Correct.
planned, like a lot. I mean, because it was tough to, when it started going up, people noticed it, and it's still, ramping up quite a bit.
And the short version of that, the projects that they completed starting in that time period, that's what they refer to as their R2E2 program. That was on the solids end of things. So after you treat the wastewater, there's a liquid that goes off to the river, and then there's a solid that needs to be disposed of. That took care of all the solids. That was on the solid end of things. They're now going into a new program. It's another infrastructure program, but that's on the liquid end or the in-feed end of the plant. So the pumps that bring the water, because everything that enters the plant has to be pumped. When it comes down North Quincy Avenue, it's 35 feet underground at that point. So everything that enters the plant, you have to pump from underground up. So starting with the pumps and the liquid clarifiers and everything up to the point that the solids fall out, that all needs to be upgraded now. That infrastructure is 50 years old.
Paul DeWery?
Is there a point where it maybe will even out once that infrastructure is taken care of?
We're hopeful of that, yes.
I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but just wondering, because it is. The blue part is basically what is it called again? GBMSD, and then the purple is like the city version.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there is increases, and I don't know
it
if
went
that's
up
just,
30 cents this year instead of 20. It was
Correct.
kind of consistent.
They told us to expect anywhere from 7 to 15% increases per year
over
over the next 7 years.
the next 7.
How much?
7 to
What
15% a year.
7 to 15
per year.
per year over the next 7 years.
We really, that's a good question,
Yeah,
and
but
and
what
I think
if-
it'd be better if you answered it. 'cause
Yeah, I
we've
asked,
asked
what if
it
we
before.
don't approve it? What happens then?
What's that?
If it comes to us and we're saying, well, we don't want to approve it, what happens then? Do we have a choice?
Well, you wouldn't be passing the treatment costs on to the consumer. The city, the utility would be responsible for those costs.
But we
So
pay,
we'd have to,
Well, yeah.
we still pay them.
somebody has to pay
or the city
GBMSD.
pays.
Which the city of Green Bay is paid for by the residents, so,
Well,
right?
the utility pays the bill, and then we charge the residents back to make it a pass-through cost. The utility would have to absorb all of that.
I did have, if it's okay.
Yes, yes.
Their board, do you remember, it was a couple years ago, I think I was messaged or sent a letter from someone asking who's the makeup of this board, and what kind of input do we have on the projects they do to make sure we have good oversight, that they're not just going crazy with the projects?
Yeah, there was an effort that was largely started by Swamico, where they wanted to get a municipality on the board of directors. That effort largely has not followed through, because listening to the concerns that the municipalities have, GBMSD staff and their board have opened up, become a lot more transparent, and a lot more engaging with the municipality. So we are involved in those discussions. We're meeting with them pretty much monthly at this point.
And I think if there would be, if you had red flags, any of the cities, you'd say, hold on a
Yep.
minute here, this project is not even remotely called for.
All the municipalities are looking and making sure that what they have are needs, not wants.
Also,
So just to bring a little light to it, you know, my business has been on the west side for 15 years, and I was on the city of Green Bay, and then I moved to Howard. So they bill you monthly. Green Bay is cheap compared to Howard. So Howard, I'm not so.
I don't think get their water, they don't get their
It's
water from Lake Michigan.
it's like $42 a month. I don't use no water in my shop. That's like the beginning charge every month, whether you use it or not. That's like the set fee. I mean, I flush the toilet up twice a day. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. Wash my hands. So I was like, damn, it'd be nice to get rid of that water bill. You know, I mean, it's just overhead. And the girl next door that does nails, I mean, she uses. So I see her bill and I see mine. I'm like, this one's yours. You know, but it's amazing
They
the
don't-
difference from one place to the other.
They don't hook up with Green Bay water, so
I don't
that could be one
They
of
go
the
to-
reasons. They go out where, some of the communities go out toward, I don't know, where do they go?
Two Rivers.
Two
I know,
Rivers.
it's pretty far.
Yeah.
Just one other thing. In 2017, I met some people, I forgot where they were from. They were meeting in Green Bay, and they were meeting, these were young guys having a blast. There was a tornado. Anyway, I got to meet them. We were talking, and I'm like, oh, I'm from Green Bay. And they're like, we have a meeting with the Green Bay, and they were like literally taking that runoff water and literally whatever they were doing, and this was nationwide, they were going everywhere. Pretty young guys, I mean, younger than me. They literally had a process of making that water literally into drinking water. And I don't know where, it's the last time I ever heard of it. So they had some kind of a purity thing that they were working with municipalities, and it was like, they were like looking at like, we're gonna kill it, because it was and I don't know what the cost was. I just was wondering whatever. I never heard nothing after that, But they were literally meeting with the city of Green Bay like the next week. They had big meetings set up with them. So I don't know, just something with food for thought.
Right. Director, I was just gonna ask, with the city portion, just refresh me or the committee as far as, what responsibilities the sewer district has versus the city, the costs that go into it. I know I've heard it before, but
The
just.
cost, our cost is primarily with the collection of that water and transporting it into the GBMSD interceptor phase. And then once it gets into the interceptor, from that point to the plant
And
and
they
through the
take care
plant
of
is the GBMSD cost.
So as far as our infrastructure, because I see, you look at the purple and it's, it's big enough,
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel that our infrastructure is getting to a point where we can maybe see a little more decline in that, or is that part of the issue?
No, I think you're going to actually see, potentially see some ramp ups, some small ramp ups at our cost. One of the biggest problems we have at this point is what we call infiltration and inflow, and on that history table that we provided to you, there's an I/I on there. That is infiltration and inflow. And basically what that means is clear water is getting into the system through defects in the pipe. You don't want rainwater leaking into the ground, finding its way into a sanitary sewer. If it goes into a storm sewer, no big deal, because that's going off to a surface water, that's where it belongs. But you don't want it getting into your sanitary sewer, because that's rainwater going up and being treated at a wastewater treatment plant. You don't want to treat clean water. So one of the things we're working on, one of the emphases for 2023 is we came to you with a proposal to do some smoke testing a couple of months ago. That's what we're doing, is we're looking for defects in the pipe to stop I&I. Most often what we see is the I&I is actually on the private side. So from the point of connection at the main back towards the house is where we're getting most of that I&I. So first we have to verify where we're getting the I&I. Is it more prevalent in certain parts of the city than others? Why are we having it? What's the recommended fix? How is that going to be paid for? So that's kind of the approach we're taking. But if we find excessive I&I on our side, then we're gonna have capital projects, and I don't think you guys wanna sacrifice road projects
For
for,
that.
you know, because there's a sewer component, and the sewer pays its own bill. So if that's the case, we may have to bump the rates up a little bit to handle independent sewer contracts plus the sewer contracts associated with the road construction.
So with that smoke plan or that you're working on, is there, I hate to say, is there a map, but is there something that kind of shows some of the, I hate to say this,
I think-
I hate to
apologize.
say it.
I hate to say it, but
We-
map, something that would
What-
show some trouble areas throughout the city.
Well, when we brought the request for the smoke test to be done, we had some maps in that request showing the areas that we were smoke testing.
Okay, but just if there are some problem areas over time, it'd just be nice to see that, just so that
Yep.
over time, we're kind of on the ball with this stuff.
Yep.
Control.
Sure.
Thank you. All the rec.
Control.
All the rec.
Oh, no, I was just gonna, kind of, with the smoke testing and seeing if there's waste or that, in what you're saying, like a interaction between the
Leak.
two.
Literally waste.
So, yeah, literally waste, which obviously we don't want. But there's that whole, okay, there could be that capital cost, then eventually you would hope that it would also taper out the cost. Because,
Maybe yes, maybe no. The other issue that remains unspoken in this is, at the end of the day, GBMSD has a cost to do business. If we're treating, I'm gonna make up numbers. If we're treating 10 million gallons, if we're supplying 10 million gallons a year, and it's much more than that, their plant treats millions of gallons a day. But let's just use a hypothetical, okay? Let's say we're supplying 10 million gallons. If we fix the I&I problems, so they're taking their operating expenses and dividing by 10 million, and you pay this much per million gallon. If we cut our I&I down and we're only sending them $7 million, and they don't change their budget, now they're dividing it by 7 million gallons, and we just pay a higher rate per million gallon.
Even though it's more efficient.
Right.
and, correct me if I'm wrong, they sell water to the other communities, so they also have an income.
No.
Revenue.
The-
Oh, this is a different,
Correct.
I know, I get confused between those two, the Green
Yep.
Bay Water Utility.
You're thinking
but-
Central Brown County Water Authority.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Central Brown County Water Authority is drinking water, new water is wastewater.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you for the clarification.
So, just to clarify on the smoke testing, so what you're trying to do is figure out if it's in the residential to the hookup?
We're looking for defects,
First?
period.
I would think it would be in the streets before it would
Well,
be,
we're looking
On the
for
canal.
defects, period.
yeah.
Is there anything with the permeable surfaces, like if, like over time, if people decide to put in pavers and different things, I realize it's a small thing right now, but if there's some change with residents, how they collect the water, how they disperse things, having less pavement, will that be anything in the future, or is that kind of
That
small?
wouldn't impact the sanitation.
Stormwater isn't treated.
Correct.
I think,
That's
these are
what-
both on here, but I think we're gonna have a lot of the same questions for the second part.
Yeah,
I mean, what you're saying, I mean, it's easy as, we haven't had a sanitary system at our cabin because we had an old holding tank 40 years, is blah, blah, blah. Well, the runoff, that the old grandfather way where the top water flowed off, gray water. Well, now the water line's so high, there was more water coming in. We can't even use it because it's capacitated. And it's, the groundwater, that means it's leaking.
Right.
So, we can't use it, but that's kind of what the whole, are we treating good water?
Right.
all right, so.
But
what-
also, I mean, if you don't have a secure water line, I mean, there's always testing going on. I mean, everyone runs their water all the time, so they know when there's no water pressure, right? So it could be water going out, leaking out of an incoming line also, correct?
It could be.
But most likely
If
it's,
there's-
because that's where it's, the water coming in,
Right.
and your charge on your wastewater going out. Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Otherwise, entertain a motion. What's that?
Move to approve.
By Worry, do we have a second? Second by Campbell. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for the description. I'll remember most of it. Yeah. All
Or to
right.
go to waste. Sorry. Trying to be
Oughta
No,
be.
vague. I just-
that was actually pretty good.
Water over the dam.
Pipe down.
Whoa.
Number 3,
Oh, boy.
consideration with
Oh,
possible
boy.
action. Consideration with possible action on a request by Department of Public Works to adopt the proposed 2023 storm sewer rates. A little more of the,
This one actually gets a lot easier. It's not as complicated or complex because there's no GVMSD to work through. So what we have included in the packet is a copy of the 2023 budget. This still says draft on it, but this is the budget that the city council approved back in November. So,
I'm sorry.
okay, so what we have is a total of $10,661,505 worth of expense. There are 79,250 equivalent runoff units in the city of Green Bay. You simply divide the 10,661,505 by 79,250, and it comes out to $134.53 per year per ERU, or $11.21 per month. Next page, next 2 pages, I know you gotta be,
yeah.
has some really good
So you
eyes
have a
to see it, but we're
magnifying
trying to
glass?
give you some historical information. But what this does is just provides a budget comparison year to year going back to 2004. The 4th page is really the information. The blue line is our budget. The red line is actual expenses, and we didn't have the actuals ready for the last couple of years. I will get those done, so when the next time we discuss this, we have that. But the green line takes those budget expenses, of the blue expenses, and converts them into the cost per ERU. And our ERU charge is going from $10.40 in 2022 up to $11.21 in 2023.
That's kind of a normal growth pattern as you see, or? You know, I mean, it's like anything else, costs to.
Yeah, there's not, I wouldn't say that there's any single item, we didn't add a new program, nothing along that line. I think the bulk of what you're seeing would be salary and fringe for both the utility staff as well as the forestry staff, which we are now, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been funding 88% of the forestry department.
Right. Okay.
Some of the fuel cost in here too then? For
Oh,
this?
yeah.
So that's probably, yeah,
Anybody else, questions?
just hit the
You
Zoom.
can't see it?
Okay,
And do that
yeah.
and then just go back.
Yeah, just on the
Well, then
bottom.
you can have the whole thing. I don't,
Right.
I'm trying to figure, okay, so there, I apologize.
No, there's a lot of information there. Can you map this at all? or?
The rate, well, the question.
is a map.
You got
Yeah.
the rate, the
No, I'm talking
actual.
about-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
There's the rate and then actual and budget.
Actual
I'm just
budget,
trying
you're
to
just trying to
figure
see
out-
the difference?
Yeah,
So, I mean, when you budget, I mean, it's like anything else, you do it for the future, your actual coming at the end of the year, it might be a little bit more, a little bit less.
Correct.
It's just kind of the way it is.
If we come in on the good side, actuals come in less than budget, some of that money winds up in fund balance, and some of it winds up as a contribution. We put that money into our transfer to capital. If it goes into transfer, the money that's retained in the fund balance is a rainy day in case we have a year that comes in where we're on the wrong side, and we can help offset those costs without having to impact the user rates. If money winds up, excess money winds up in that transfer to capital, what we do is we put that into our projects for next year and use cash instead of borrowing.
Okay.
So all the money stays within the utility.
Because I noticed like 2020, you got actual and budget, the budget's 1.344 million for the budget, and the actual came out to $849,000, so there's, a good, 450,000 or whatever difference, you're saying that money that was budgeted, I mean, like when you make a budget, normally you try, don't you try to keep fairly close to reality, if you will, or as much as you can, but then the actual was 500,000, almost 450, 500 less?
Well, take a look.
So I'm just looking at that and just trying to
How did
understand.
everything stay up to
There were some
16
charges that
level, and then it just
were in there
skyrocketed up
for
from that point?
Sampling charges and sediment credit for GBMSD that didn't get applied during that year. That was, we were paying for TSS credits through through GBMSD by Green Bay Packaging surrendering their stormwater permit.
Oh,
And we were getting those credits. Because of the delay in getting the plant completed, we had those budgeted for 2020,
I
but
see.
we didn't actually incur the expense.
right, but
So-
normally it'll be closer, you would
Yeah,
think.
they should, ideally they should be, but again, remember, we're guessing at how much stormwater there's going to be
Mhm.
a year in advance. Same thing, we're guessing at how much sanitary sewer somebody's gonna use a year in advance.
And some of these storms that we've had, I mean, I don't know how that factors into it, some of these 1 in 1,000 year storms that come in. I don't know if that affects any of that.
They do, it's not a one-to-one, but there is some impact.
Some impact. okay.
Yes.
All right, committee, anything? Ready to move forward?
It just seems odd that in 2016, everything looks like it fell apart. As far as.
You mean after that?
It was level and then it-
Or they started to figure it out. And it doesn't look like they're all on the same page, because how does your actual go down? Your cost one went up right away, and then, your rate was following it.
Well, the rate's going to follow the budget.
But how does it stay so even all? It's like, is that Green Bay and it never grew to that stage, and after that it grew?
Oh,
Or is 2016 when you
Starting
started,
in
Steve?
that year, we had applied, we had surplus that we could apply toward projects.
Yeah,
And when we spent all that down, we had to start borrowing more money. As soon as we started borrowing more money, our debt service.
so it's
costs
almost the
started
cost of inflation
So,
is,
No,
is,
no.
I mean,
We,
the cost
again,
of-
if you have
Budget
revenues
inflation.
exceeding expenses, you have a surplus. We took that surplus and put it in capital, and then we would pay cash next year for projects.
To the next.
When we didn't have that, when we expended that surplus, that reserve we had to start borrowing more money to do our projects, and that's what started the cost escalation.
okay, just one more question. So these are year-long blocks here, increments. I don't know what the height is, costs, I guess. So all these reports that you kind of given us today and always, do all the dates always have that same date? Is it the fiscal budget, or is it the end of the year, or
End of the
is
year-
everything different
End
in
of the
all?
year and fiscal are the same.
And like in all your departments, is it always that same date, the cut date, when you're doing your budget? I guess
Yeah, it
is
should be.
So all the graphs, everything is
Yeah, it
always
should.
on the budget?
I can't speak to every department, but it
Right,
should be, if
okay.
they're giving you an annual cost, it's usually a fiscal.
Okay, I was just
And
wondering.
the fiscal and the calendar are
Sure.
the same.
Okay. Thanks.
so is there one line that of all these lines that we should, the bottom would be,
The green one, yes.
yeah, the bottom, normally that's what you would say, but I'm just,
Just, gonna-
yeah, I was just looking at the graph too, and the graph represents that table.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
So let's just say we're
I
in
just
actual.
want to point out,
Hold
there's
on.
because Alder Weary just pointed out to me, because
You okay if I take one?
Director Grenier pointed out, the surplus, it says applied surplus. If you look at the bottom of the chart, on the one that's 2004 through
Can't think tonight.
2013. Bye.
So, yeah,
At the bottom, it's surplus that's taken off. It makes it a little bit harder to, I mean, if you don't catch that there's a surplus applied.
What are we looking at?
Yeah, down here at
For
the
the C
bottom.
in those years where we had
I'm looking at
200,000, 365, 294, 303, that was that applied surplus, and that's what kept, I think, the rate even. And then once that's happened, it's just, you had that.
So at what point do you try to make the adjustment? I'm just looking at the graph. I'm sure that numbers support the graph to a point. I don't know, it's another ones are monthly or a little more breakdown, the numbers are, number charts.
Well,
So if
again,
you're looking at this, let's just say we're past it, from 21 to 22. So is there adjustments that you look at the end and go, wow, we gotta do this? I mean, is there action that it represents?
every year when we're preparing the budget,
Okay,
that's
okay,
what we're
that's
looking
when,
at.
that's when you go, how do we get it even? Or apply with
Now,
the
this is-
leftover or whatever?
Well,
Probably Jim.
if there's, when the final audit is done, the city gets audited every year, and they audit all of our funds. So when the audit is completed, typically that's in March or so. That's when we know what our number is, how was our actual compared to our budget. And at that point, that's when we make a decision if there are extra funds left over, if revenues exceeded
Okay.
expenditure. We'll make those decisions on what happens with that money at that point in
Oh,
time.
all right.
The utility money, 99 times out of 100, that money winds up for the stormwater utility, the sanitary utility, and the parking utility, winds up under the line item 59,940, transfer out capital projects. We've got a budget that we put in there, a budget number, but if there's extra money, we add to that. So what that does is that puts money into our construction account, so we've got that money in there for additional projects. We reinvest in our
Is that
infrastructure.
part of the contingency fund or is that separate?
No, it's completely separate. Utilities, the stormwater utility, the sanitary utility, and the parking division are completely off levy, so we don't deal with taxpayer funds at all.
Yeah.
We're self-supporting.
That's, okay.
So
I was-
that's why we
Yeah,
take those
yeah.
money, that's why we take that money and we reinvest back into the utility in the form of
And
infrastructure.
that's pretty positive normally, year after year. Okay.
I just noticed that there was applied interest revenue of 75,000 in 2020. And it looks like 2021's proposed. What is that from?
If we have cash sitting in the bank, we can generate interest on that. So that's a number that we typically get from finance department. We don't generate all the numbers in our budget. There's a lot of stuff that comes from other departments. So finance tells us count on generating $25,000 worth of interest on your fund this year. That's the number we'll plug in.
Sounds good to me.
Interesting. Very.
You guys are gonna stop hanging out with the older district stuff.
I know.
Wait, what did you just say?
Just,
Talking about the interest, he said, very interesting. I didn't even know you did, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
well, committee, what's your pleasure? Can I take a motion?
I think we wash our hands of
Motion
this.
to approve.
Motion to approve. Wash
There
our
Oh.
you go.
hands.
He likes taxes. He likes
Mike
bigger
Campbell.
fees.
Right. Do we have a second?
He,
Second.
oh, I thought he
you?
approved, or he made a motion and
Don't want to
then
be tied to it.
They
Did you
did.
make a motion?
Yeah, I did.
He
Yeah,
did.
he made the
He did.
motion, I'll give you the second.
All right.
Any other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Thanks again for
Chips in the corner.
a riveting discussion. A lot of stuff. All right, next, informational.
Take the shortest meeting and make it good, right?
Yeah, right. Director's
Well,
report
you're learning, you know?
on recent activities.
Okay, well, similar to what you heard from Director Ditchite in the last meeting, our appreciation to all four of you, especially with having two new welders on the committee. There's a steep learning curve. We deal with some pretty complex issues on this committee, and we do appreciate the level of effort and the work that you put in, and we do appreciate the guidance of the senior members of the committee in helping you guys
I was
learn.
gonna say, we got two good leaders.
Well,
But we enjoy working with the four of you. It's definitely pleasurable to come in
so
here.
how does that rate? Our group versus the last? We can't
Well,
call it.
I think it started
I
when
can't-
we all were.
I don't wanna
think
put you on the
it
spot.
all started when we were all
Interrupting.
meeting in person, all right?
Just
I mean,
cough the
we-
answer
we
out.
led- We made an example by
No,
all being here
I
all the
think we
time.
we do enjoy this committee as well, and I think, and we appreciate your efforts too, Steve, because, you know, we've known you for a few years, and, you know, there are moments where it got tough at times, but I think you're willing to listen to the committee, listen to the alders. I think you're working well, you and your department. I feel like I see progress with that, and I am all in favor of it, and I thank you for that.
Good to hear, thanks.
Yeah.
You do have more to say, I think, or.
Oh, yeah, more to say.
He wasn't done saying. Well, no, because
Again,
he was,
you know,
yeah, just want to make sure.
We do appreciate the level of effort. It's obvious that everybody here is doing their homework, and it results in better questions, and results in, we don't mind being challenged. That shows us that you're doing your job in making sure that your constituents are being represented. One of the things that we very much enjoy about it is the fact that we can have spirited discussion, and it's not it's not
Vindictive.
confrontational.
Yeah.
You all understand that we're working towards the same goal, and we all have the same thing in mind. We all work for the constituent. So it's very much appreciated, and we definitely want to make sure that we mention that to the committee.
I just wanted to thank you and your staff. You're always very quick to answer questions, especially by email. You guys
Good.
are always right on it. I mean, really, you and Pure Lot and
I
everything.
beat him today.
Oh, just-
for my
The
girlfriend.
only other thing that I wanted to add to that is, obviously, we're staring down the barrel of Winter Storm Axel. It does have a name.
Axel?
It has
Oh my
been
God.
officially named, so it's our first Winter
Oh, it's the
Storm of
first
year.
one,
I
yeah.
left my truck running.
Do we have
just in
any
case.
accurate predictions yet?
Well, the predictions changed over the course of about 6 hours today. This morning, the weather briefing that we attended, National Weather Service was telling us about 5.8 inches in total accumulation. It was going to start about midnight, be over by about 6. By the time we got to the 2:30 p.m. weather briefing, it had changed. It had downshifted. The storm had tracked again a little bit further off to the west, like it originally had been tracking. They downgraded us to a little over 4 inches, between 4 and 5 inches, and starting a little later. And depending on when that shift between rain and snow occurs, that's going to determine how much total accumulation we get. So I did have a conversation with my staff. Our expectation at this point is, as soon as the snow starts adhering to the roads, that's when our Sweet 16 truck drivers will go out, and we will be on the primaries starting at that point until the event is done. We are planning a full plow, but we are not planning an overnight full plow. We will probably be coming in sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock and starting our plow, and it'll be more of a daytime plow tomorrow based on when the storm is going to be generating the snow.
Well, you guys have been on that for years too, with all the various websites and all the things you look at. I mean, it's like reminds me of like the old British war movies when they're all sitting there with everything. Is that a little bit like that?
We are
Like this.
anticipating, this is supposed to be a heavy wet event, so it is gonna stick, it is gonna compact. I am getting crews prepared. Again, having a daytime plow is gonna be beneficial for us, because then I can get my folks back home tomorrow night, get them rested up, because I do intend to send everybody out full force on Friday for cleanup operations. We've got Thursday and Friday to get cleaned up and get as much of that snow up and off the ground. Long-range predictions for the next 8 to 10 days, starting on Monday next week. So through Christmas and potentially as far as New Year's, they are anticipating that we are going to be below average temperature, and average temperature for this time of year is going to be 15 degrees. So they are saying we could be approaching 0 for about a week and a half period. We've got to get as much up as we can so it doesn't freeze
Doesn't
out.
freeze.
Packer game Monday.
Yep,
My daughter's going because we bought his tickets.
so,
Yeah.
So I want to show appreciation to you too. I appreciate the fact that you're willing to answer the questions, and I jokingly, but I actually do mean it, that I've learned more about stormwater management than I ever thought I would in my entire life.
Kick it off your bucket list.
Or desire to. And I find myself going to parking lots looking and.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, the flooding and, oh, they're doing this and
Oh,
that,
yeah.
yeah, so I'm looking
your
at it,
gutters.
and anyway, so I appreciate it that and you are quick, you're always quick to respond, and that's great, because I have a lot of questions. constituents, they contact me and I send it right to you. And the first time I called you, I remember you said to think of you as the person to come to if I don't know who to ask.
Yep.
So I appreciated that offer. And so thank you and Merry Christmas to you. I know I'll see you next Tuesday too.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'll be wearing my ugly sweater.
Good.
So I just
One
want to
more-
say, thanks, I think you do well at your job. I know a lot of people my customers that all work for the city, your staff, probably the most of them, you know what I mean? Everybody out there. And funny, two little points. I think we need to try to get a stump, Mr. Grenier, contest. To see if we can bring up one thing that we can stump him on, because he's always pretty direct with the answer and quick. I mean, I don't even think we gotta put a timer on him, And the other thing was funny, because I met a lady a few weeks back, I forgot her name, I probably wrote it down. She knows you. You work with her pretty consistently. I think she's a consulting firm. I think I don't know if I mentioned it to you or not. But we talked about you, and I said, oh, yeah, I work for the city. And she's like, oh, I work with the city. And I took a little bit of stuff, and finally she says, yeah, I'm on the INS committee. She goes, so you work with Steve Grenier? And she's like, yeah. She was very guarded as she talked, but as we got to talking and shooting and whatever, it was funny. It's like, he pretty much knows his stuff. I go, yeah, it seems like it. I go, and it was just a nice, fun conversation, but believe me, she didn't tell me anything, but she says,
Well, that's good.
kind of said, well, it's
Yours
Steve's
and
way
me.
or the highway, but I think she might have said that once, but it's like, yeah, we're very careful to work with him, and he's got his ways, but he's very prepared, I just thought, I go, that's the guy, yeah.
So you gotta do a blog now. You got a good voice for that, just a blog, with
I'm
engineering.
also
Stump
very
him.
blessed. I've got a great professional staff who are very committed, very passionate about what they do. I had a lady email me today and express appreciation because the garbage truck driver took special care, knowing that snow was coming. Only one cart had an open lid down the entire street, and she took time out of her day to send a message to me to let me know how much that was appreciated, that many people don't come home till after work, and rather than the carts being full of water or snow, the garbage truck driver made sure to
That's
flip
right.
the lids down.
Right.
Well, I'm just gonna add to that, so if you're gonna take credit for pulling Jane's trash can up to the door, I did that, okay? I beat you to it.
So,
And I wanna tell you something, I looked in her garbage can, you could eat out of it, it was that clean.
That's-
I've never seen one so clean in my
that's
life.
indicative of the caliber of people that work in the Department of Public Works. I've often joked that my staff are what we refer to as the unseen, unclean. We work in dirty environments, and we're largely hidden behind a
There's
truck.
a TV show there somewhere. Yeah.
So most people recognize the truck, but not the person driving it. But those folks are very dedicated to their jobs.
I
very involved in
think support, I think, and I've done this, I know you guys have done that too, where if forestry or public works, somebody comes by and something happens, you talk to them. I think they're very appreciative, the crews, when you talk to them and just say, hey, good job, et cetera. It's appreciated. You want some water? It's clean water. All right, anything else? Otherwise, thanks again, Steve, for
Thank you.
everything, and your, as well as your department. Public
Thank you.
hearings, we got nothing,
Oh.
otherwise, I would say.
Do we have to
motion.
make a motion to receive his report and
Yes,
place on file?
you may, yes, do that, please, thank you. Receive and place on file by X, seconded by Weary, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next meeting is January 11th of
What's that?
INS, and that's, again, the birthday of Alexander Hamilton. He was born in either 1755 or 1757 on the island of on Nevis, I believe it was. British West Indies, so he can never become president. So that's the name of that tune. All right, motion.
To adjourn.
Adjourn by
Second.
Eck, second by Campbell, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?